There is no need to fear. You can't run very far. Curiosity's curse has brought you to our home of bizarre. Consider us your friends, or simply your humble guides, as we unlock those doors in which they attempt to disguise. Welcome to a world of ghosts and grays and end of days. Welcome to a house of magic and fairies, all occurring suspiciously close to the fictitious town of Derry. Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, John and Stacy Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow Halloween edition. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my witchy wife, Stacy.
Hello.
And we are enjoying the season.
Yes, our favorite season.
'Tis the season for razor blades and candy apples. And I said that backwards, but it's still, everybody knows the Misfits song. So it's Halloween.
It is.
Halloween. However you say it, it's fine. But I'm excited. Costumes, and especially up here, where we're currently at in Maine, it is fantastic. Yes. Halloween is just fantastic.
Well, I think that the neighborhood that we live in is like the go-to neighborhood. You know, when we used to live in Virginia, we would take our kids to like the better neighborhood with all the houses that were right in a row.
Yeah.
And so I think that's our neighborhood now.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that last year, obviously, and we talked about it on this show, that it was just amazing. Like the amount of people, just ridiculous. Just it was a flashback to the 80s. It was a flashback to seeing, like the cool character costumes and oodles and oodles and oodles of little kids and big kids and everything. Yes. It's just cool, man.
I love that, like, the older kids here don't care about they'll trick or treat.
Yeah.
They don't care. They'll dress up. They'll come to your door, 16-year-olds, like, trick or treat. You know, you give them candy.
Absolutely. We're really excited about this. I got something fun to go over here in a few minutes. It's a surprise for you for Halloween.
Oh, okay.
But I will talk about a little bit. Man, it's been a weird week, dude. Last week I was on the big vacation, and we just posted our latest vlog, and we'll talk about that shortly. A lot of fun doing that, and we've got some cool investigation stuff coming up. And yes, there's background music. Before you start looking around your room or your car, wherever you're listening to this, or if you're at work, wherever you're listening to this from, there is background music. So just for this, it's a special edition.
Yes.
I dressed up and everything. I mean, I'm completely right now dressed as a underwear model, and I have, my abs popping out. I wish you guys could see.
I know.
I wish you guys could see. Stacy is dressed as a Victoria's Secret model. The angel, you remember the angel with the wings and stuff? And she looks really great right now. We have our big blow up alien, Raz, and he's dressed up as well. He's dressed up as a human. So we won't notice that he is kind of mixing in with us unless we check for his Rh negative blood.
I see.
Just like you have.
Yes, I do have that.
You have that, which makes you all rare and special and all that good stuff, right? So you could be an alien. But I have the green eyes.
Right.
And there's something else I have that's very strange with the aliens. I can't remember what it was.
I don't know. You have a scoop mark.
Well, yeah. Well, was it? Thanks for throwing that out there, Stacy. Yes, I have a scoop mark that happened after Stacy found me outside naked. That was a good night.
Yeah.
I don't remember a thing, but wow, that's a story.
Yeah.
You know what, guys? That's a story that is actually in the book. So the book's not out. They're making us hold it.
Yes.
Somebody.
It's done.
Some unnamed person is making us hold it. So I wanted to talk about a few things, but first I think I might shill a bit.
Okay.
Sorry.
Early shilling.
The background music got on my nerves.
That's okay.
So I could only imagine because I like to think we have one heart.
Right.
And I kind of understand everybody out there, and it just gets on my nerves. But you know what doesn't get on my nerves? ParanormalSideshow.com. That's your address to go find out everything. Halloween?
Sure.
Is that good?
That's good.
You know what? I would say Halloweeny.
Halloweeny.
Let me get back in my shill voice.
Okay.
Everything Halloweeny. Facebook.com/Paranormal Sideshow. Tons of weenies. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. You actually do see weenies. On Instagram, Hot Weenie Damn, it's John and Stacey Edwards. And on YouTube. Yeah, that's right. I'm talking about YouTube because I'm talking about something really cool. I'm talking about the most Halloween, black and green, death-defying, witches flying, full moon rising piece of paranormal moving pictures thou shalt ever feast your bloody eyeballs upon. It's the vlog on the tube of you. It's called Till Death because we're clever. And will we stop? I say never. YouTube.com/Paranormal Sideshow. That's where you'll see our vlog, kiddies. And Stacey puts a lot of long hours, a lot of sleepless nights editing that gym. And we really enjoy doing it. We enjoy bringing it to you. We enjoy doing the podcast, and we enjoy just as much, if not more, bringing you into our home, bringing you into some of the weird that is us. This latest edition called October Spell, little trivia for the people that listen to the podcast
Okay.
that you wouldn't get on the vlog. October Spell is a song that I wrote when I was 16 years old. And I ended up actually getting to perform that song as I wrote it into a full song when I had a band. And I used little lines that I wrote, such as Never a Day Like a Day in October. Later on, I wrote it like an alternative song. Of course, it ended up a metal song because everything did with the band I was in. I could write a ballad and it would just be like, but that was a long time ago. But yeah, the reason it's called that is because we couldn't figure out a name. But because there was nothing that we went after that was paranormal per se. But this place that we found that we cleaned some stones at and just got the power and the energy and the love. And that's all you feel in this place. It's a power point. It's just a power point. Amazing feeling all through your body. And this weird feeling when we left that I don't know if we captured that the way I wish we could have captured it, but it's kind of an uncapturable moment where we left and we felt almost, I don't know, man, almost just high, I guess, for lack of a better drug, for maybe 30 miles. And we didn't even talk, like not in a bad way. Like we didn't talk and we were just kind of like the sun was setting and
we just felt really good.
It was perfect. And then I, like 2 days later, went through a freaking breakdown of all breakdowns. And the funny thing about that, it's the vlog, by the way, is great. It's got a lot of hilarious moments because I don't know I'm that funny until Stacey edits that stuff together. And then I'm like, Jesus, do I really just say, I swear to God, I'm not trying to do stand-up comedy.
It's really funny because it's just like on this podcast, you say things all the time. I have no idea you've even said them. And then I'll go back and I'll be editing and I'll just start laughing out loud because you've said something silly that I, was under your breath or it was I just didn't get it at the time. It's very funny.
It makes me wonder if I don't do that all the time.
I think that you do. I
remember my old regional vice president. We were thick as thieves, very, very close. And aside from the fact that I was his district manager, but I'm currently like that's my shoulder, folks. You hear it? Yeah. But we were really close. He was a great guy. I remember I had a meeting. And I had a meeting with all my general managers. And it was my first meeting with these general managers, I do believe. And I went through my spectrum. I'm a good communicator. So I went through my expectations and I went through all this stuff after my god-awful amount of years doing this in the professional world. And I went through it all, but I did some tongue-in-cheek stuff. Like, right. I remember, let's just say the guy's name was Brian. Brian said something about his store, and I was like, well, Brian, that's because your store is terrible and you're a horrible manager. But we're going to fix that. I wasn't, being mean. That's me being tongue-in-cheek, giving you the real, but trying to be sarcastically funny, I guess, about it. Anyway, we get through all that, and it was a great meeting. And they actually learned so much that way. When you're just real with people, it's it just works. So I remember afterwards, he was just like, John, I love your passion and I love how you communicate. but I think that your level is going over their heads. And I don't believe they're getting your sarcasm, because that's not a normal leadership.
Well, it's unfortunate for you because you just live with me and I'm very intelligent, and you just think that everybody is going to be very intelligent like that.
Well, it's not even the intelligence. These guys are super intelligent. It's, I mean, they're like Wile E. Coyote, super intelligent. It's not that. It's the difference in just where we're at.
Well, I get your humor. Is what it is.
You get my humor.
Yes.
And it seems
that's
like,
what I was getting at.
Yeah. It seems like up here, I don't know. It's just a different, they're very literal up here. Mm-hmm. And so if you say something in a sarcastic way, it comes off as very, very literal.
We should have known that, because even the street names are very literal here.
Yeah,
like if
Water
you're on,
Street.
Yeah, the Water Street goes near water. Every town has a main street because it's their main street.
Yeah, we're used to crazy
Ocean Boulevard.
Street names. Yeah, we're used to like Bob Caulfield Drive, or something, Rooster Cogburn Lane or something like that. It's always crazy. I don't know, man. It's funny going back and seeing that and listening to that and everything. But speaking of funny, all right, Bunny, I've got something for you.
Okay.
And I being that it is.
So I got a super special shilling event, and now I get something else.
Yeah, well, you're always going to get the super special shilling event. Say that one 6 times fast. So I got curious, and not curious like I went to a bar and came back, later on, kind of curious, the different kind of curious.
Right.
I got curious, and my curiosity was about Halloween costumes.
Okay.
Because it is that time of year when all we think about is Halloween crafts and costumes and all that good stuff. Because me, you, and everybody listening to the show is ridiculous Halloween freaks.
Absolutely.
I know all of you out there. Remember, we're in your phone and we're watching you.
We know. We know.
Yeah, we always know. But I got, curious because, when I was a kid, I remember dressing as like Darth Vader. I remember dressing as a vampire many times, a Hammer horror vampire, as we've talked about before. Not one of your stupid Universal vampires. I was Christopher Lee and a young Christopher Lee, dashing, dark, and young, and everything. I remember dressing as I didn't have too many of the plastic. Here's your mask.
I had those. I remember one in particular that I actually have a picture of, and it was me and my sister. We dressed as Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy, and it was like the plastic tarp that goes over your clothes.
Oh Jesus, you dressed as Annabelle.
Actually, I'm pretty sure I was Raggedy Andy, but yes. And the mask that you could barely see through and you had to take it off because you couldn't breathe. Yeah. Yeah. Loved those things.
I mean, I'm sure that I had a couple. I do know that I had a couple because I had Darth Vader.
Right. That's just how they made them back then.
Yeah. I remember that. But honestly, most of the time I like just to make my own stuff. And I really enjoyed being a vampire.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be a vampire or a zombie.
I feel like my sister and I would do things sometimes, like we would just dress as something, but then put blood on us and say we were a dead that. Like she was a roller skater one year. She was a dead roller skater or something like that. Like she did like some weird cut on her neck or something.
You're what was a homicidal maniac because they look just like you.
There you go. They look like everybody else.
They look like everybody else. So I started thinking, I wonder what the most popular Halloween outfits were back in the 1980s. And today. And it was sort of a social experiment, if you will.
Okay.
And this is how my mind works, especially when I'm sick, which I've been in my old Sherlock Holmes novels, they called it brain fever. So I've had the brain fever for about 5 days. Yep. I got down in the dumps, wanted to go home, got a sick relative, and, because we share our lives with you, I'll tell you, the only thing that doesn't stress me out is my family in this house and my work. And the funny thing is, the more chaotic it is at my work, the less stressed I am because I'm a problem solver. It's actually probably a bad thing for some leaders. You know, I've actually had people sit across the desk from me and go, I don't know, you're a problem solver. Where are you going to be next year? Well, I'll let you know. I've been in this little problem for a couple of years and I still have the top district. So there you go. Anyway, it got me thinking about this socially. Could Halloween costumes from the 80s compared through the years to today possibly tell us anything about the degeneration of our youth?
Probably.
It's a bit surprising. It does obviously reflect the times because Halloween it is a business.
It is.
And almost first and foremost, even though it's not, it's the veil and it's thin and it's the time that the dead can walk and you can communicate. That is written, so it shall be. But with all that aside, on the business side of things, so this is interesting. The top 10 Halloween outfits in the 1980s.
Oh, this should be good.
Now, this is not in any particular ranking.
Okay.
Okay. But just the 10, the best I could do was, and I did a lot of research on this, was I could find the best per year. And
so sort of like 10 of the most popular for the decade.
Yeah. So what I went for was the most popular ones for the decade.
Okay.
So Alf.
Oh my God.
Do you remember?
Of course.
Do you remember Alf, the alien? Of course.
Yes.
Cabbage Patch Kids.
Oh, what a creepy Halloween costume that is.
It is a terrible idea for a Halloween costume.
It is.
Freddy, which surprises me kind of. And we've talked about this before. As kids, we were left to our own devices. Stacy always makes the joke that when we were kids, like if we survived to be teenagers, they were like, yeah, that's a keeper. Because, I remember making little bombs outside and starting fires.
Because you got to go outside and play and nobody had to look at you for 6 hours.
Me and Stacy both had relationships with trees. And that's so funny. We didn't find that out till later in life. But we both had like trees that we talked to, which is probably a mental illness. But especially since they talked back. Freddy was a surpriser for me. Pac-Man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Pac-Man was one of the plastic face costumes, and I hope it wasn't from that stupid, terrible Pac-Man cartoon. God, I hated that.
I never watched that.
Oh, it was terrible. It was freaking terrible. They took Scooby-Doo off for that at one point. Barbie.
Oh.
And it wasn't just any Barbie that was the real popular one. This one kind of got me. It was Barbie, Wedding Barbie.
Oh, well, I mean, that's not something I ever wanted to do as a kid, like the Barbie thing.
What were we prepping our young ladies for?
Oh, Lord, I have no idea.
You know what I mean? Care Bears.
Oh, I loved Care Bears.
Now, my girliness only went to me trying on dresses and secretly putting eyeliner on and loving Duran Duran. I didn't get so far that I went to the Care Bears. I might not have came back from that.
I kind of feel like Care Bears would not have been as girly as the makeup and the dresses.
Don't judge me. The eyeliner was a statement. I was a gorgeous young man. So eyeliner on a gorgeous guy makes it, it's okay.
I agree.
And plus I could fight. So
who is going to say anything?
Who's going to say anything? Because they never did. All right. So Care Bears, which you agree with that one.
Yes.
Here's one I did. This is one that I did. This one only becomes weirder because of my getting to investigate with Kane Hodder. But Jason Voorhees.
Ah, yes. Very popular one. Yes.
Something that I didn't bring up with Kane Hodder was that I dressed as him for Halloween.
That would have been kind of an awkward conversation, I think.
No. When I investigated Waverly Hills, that was not one of the things that I said. So I get Jason because it's easy.
Yeah, it is.
It's a hockey mask.
Yeah, it's like one of those things you could just do in a second.
Yeah. So kind of disappointed that Michael Myers isn't on this list, by the way, because that's the creepiest thing I've ever seen.
It's a little harder, though. It's not like a hockey mask.
Yeah, but it's a rubber mask, and it's terrifying.
Yes, it is. I agree.
Michael Myers scares me to this day. It's just that emotionalist. Oh, my God. Halloween. We need to watch that.
Did you ever dress as a ghost with a sheet and the holes?
No.
I think I actually did that one year just to be funny.
No, that's awesome though.
Yeah, I think I actually went as a ghost one year with the holes cut out.
No, I never did that I know of. The next one is Superman.
Of course.
Which, basic DC, and that was probably a lot of the parents from the 50s.
Yes.
60s, like, oh, let's dress as Superman. Star Wars characters.
Oh, always popular.
Yes.
Always popular.
Specifically Darth Vader, I think, was one of the most popular, or Princess Leia. And this one I did.
Okay.
Oh God. Oh, this is like so coming out. Michael Jackson.
Ah, I think a lot of people probably did that in the 80s.
So I was so proud that I had the Thriller jacket. I had the leather Thriller jacket, not the Beat It jacket that all the other little redneck kids had.
Right.
I had the Thriller jacket, and not just a little cheap Thriller jacket. I had the leather Thriller jacket, and I loved my Thriller jacket. And the reason I loved Thriller was because it was a horror-based song with Vincent Price in it.
Right.
I had legitimate reasons for liking this.
Right.
Okay.
I liked it.
Funny thing is, I liked the song Say, Say, Say because it had Paul McCartney from the Beatles in it. Okay. I was a good musical kid.
Right.
And that album is great. I don't care what people, it holds up today. You can listen to the Thriller album. It's amazing. What I didn't have is what my friend Travis Gwynn, who I hope somewhere, some way is listening to this, who had every single one of the Michael Jackson dolls.
Right.
And I remember him crying to go get the one that he didn't have, which was like the awards, the Grammy Awards, Michael Jackson. and he had all of them, and he made me play with them. And I was like, I remember having a conversation, how do we both play Michael Jackson?
Well, that's what I was getting ready to ask you. How do you play Michael Jackson dolls?
So as a kid, I wanted to be one of the other Jacksons. And I was like, can I be one of his sisters or something like that? It's so funny because later in life, people did the whole Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson thing.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I loved dressing as Michael. I was a very open kid. Like nothing. I
think you just really didn't care.
Nothing bothered me, and I didn't care. I was very confident in myself until high school started, and all that got erased. I had a good childhood up to that point.
Well, during the 80s, I didn't do a lot of Halloween costumes. I did when I was a kid in the 70s, when I was real little. And then as it got into the 80s, and my parents got more religious and they less and less wanted me to participate in Halloween, I didn't get to really dress up as anything scary or do any horror movies or any of that fun stuff.
Do you have to dress as a nun or something? Or?
No. We didn't really do Halloween. We sort of did like harvest festivals. And so I know a couple times.
Isn't that a bit more pagan than Halloween?
I have no idea. A couple times I remember dressing like a farmer, like a little girl with like ponytails and freckles, just silly stuff.
I hate that.
Yeah, me too. But I never got to be any of the scary things I wanted to be. And I never got to see any of the horror movies. That's why when we met and you were like, let's watch this horror movie, I had not seen any of them.
I know. And it was wonderful. And you had not heard any music. And
I know.
It was like taking somebody that you really dig and being able to introduce them to all these wonderful things, which I'm the guy to do that. I'm pop culture Pete. And, but the reason that my anger was overflowing here as you were talking about that, I've talked about this before, but I'm going to talk about it again. All right. So Fall Festival, 1984.
Right.
My parents spent a glorious amount of time dressing me and painting me as Dracula.
Right.
I had my hair slicked back. I had the full regalia. Even my arms were white. I had white makeup on with blood veins, fingernails painted black. I think that was my call. I had the blood dripping out of my mouth.
Right. I think I've seen a picture of that.
From a fresh kill. No, that's not the picture you've seen. There is a picture of it, but I know which one you're thinking of. That was another year.
Oh, okay. Did Dracula several times.
But this Dracula I was good. And I stayed in character because it's me.
Right.
We were at a fall festival, so we had to walk around the gym.
Right.
In a costume parade. And every time I was like... and like doing my eyes and stuff, and I'm double jointed, so I did my double jointed fingers.
You did like Bela Lugosi.
Oh yeah, I did Christopher Lee. Yes,
Christopher Lee. Sorry.
And not Bela Lugosi, but I was like, trying to take their souls. And you know who won?
Who?
I don't even remember the person's name, but let's just say it was Travis McRedneck, and they were like Travis McRedneck with Farmer. And he was wearing overalls,
right?
Stuffed with hay. Okay, stuffed with hay.
So he basically just came as is,
with some like freckles put on his face and a straw hat and chewing on a piece of straw. And I think he was holding a carrot. All right, so
that was fixed.
I mean, come on, right?
Yeah,
come on. That was the moment I decided this was not the town for me. I was in the wrong place.
Obviously.
I believe that's where my love of goth and counterculture began. But yes, that was the 80s. Okay. So when we move on to the 90s,
right.
It gets a little bit more, I mean, some of it really doesn't make sense.
Okay.
So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I'm going to go on a year by year.
Okay.
So 1990, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I get that.
Yeah.
91 was Terminator.
Oh, okay.
That to me is weird.
It's a little weird.
It's I don't remember any Terminator costumes. I mean, of course, I was not trick-or-treating at that point.
Right.
But then 92, you got Catwoman, which I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Then you have Barney.
Oh, God.
Yeah. The most popular that year. Then you have Power Rangers.
Okay.
Then you have...
At least Power Rangers have a little bit of cool to them.
Then you have Star Trek characters. Like a bunch of different Star Trek characters, probably from Star Trek The Next Generation.
Right.
Then you get up to Ghostface, Scream.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Everybody had that costume.
Yes. That's when me and Stacy were dating. Mm-hmm. And that was like, I mean, yeah, I think we had that costume.
Probably.
Actually. Then Batman and Robin the next year, the first Batman on the list.
Right.
Then South Park.
Of course.
Specifically Kenny from South Park.
Yeah. Kenny's the best.
Which would be an awesome costume because you could have a death Kenny. You know, like a knife in the neck or something like that.
He dies every single way, so.
So then in 99, you want to take a guess, pop culture wise?
I have no idea.
Neo.
Really?
From Matrix.
Well, that wouldn't be a very hard costume. You just dress all in black with the trench coat.
Yeah, and have a really bad act skills.
Sunglasses.
You could be like, hello.
I actually really like that movie, though.
I'm Neo. I love Keanu Reeves now. That's so funny. I used to have this Keanu Reeves hate, and then I found out what a wonderful person he is. And I fell in love with him. That's all it takes for me, kids. So then we're going to move on here because I think this is interesting. I think it's interesting. Maybe it's not, but you know.
But we're going to go on anyway.
But we're going to do it regardless. You've got Austin Powers in 2000.
Right.
Hermione Granger,
of course,
2001, which I wish was every year for adult girls.
Right.
2002, Spider-Man. 2003, Captain Jack Sparrow. 2004, Spider-Man.
Again?
Yes.
Superheroes are always good, though.
Yeah, but Spider-Man, that's when they made good Spider-Man movies.
Right.
The new Spider-Man movie's good. We've got a good Spider-Man again, but I love those original. Well, I call them original, but the ones from the early 2000s. Tobey Maguire, right?
Yeah.
He's the best.
Were good.
2005, Darth Vader.
Of course.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with Star Wars.
No. 2006, this is funny. Here's a difference in 2006 and 11 years later. In 2006, the number one Halloween costume was Guy Fawkes. It was the V for Vendetta.
Right.
And the funny thing about this is, if you see somebody wearing a Guy Fawkes mask now at night, don't go down that street. Okay. Probably something bad happening.
Probably.
You know, a little.
Something you want to avoid.
Means something completely different now. No, I'm just kidding. It's Anonymous has their, reasons and have actually done some good here and there. So 2007, Hannah Montana.
Oh, really?
What a role model. And 2008 is probably my favorite costume out of all costumes because, and I want to say this, Stacy was the biggest Heath Ledger fan in the world before the Joker.
I was.
She has seen A Knight's Tale. No, what's the one you like? 10 Things I Hate About You?
I liked that one, but I like A Knight's Tale too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you loved Heath Ledger in anything. So it was really cool. But Joker, Heath Ledger Joker, have to throw that out there, not just traditional Joker.
Right. Because there's a big difference.
Yeah. Oh, he redefined the role. He redefined the role. He redefined the comic. And the way people look at Joker and the damaged, way they look at him. Now, the animated series did quite a bit for Joker.
Right.
But nothing did as much for the actual appearance as Heath Ledger. 2009, Edward Cullen.
Oh, that's weird. I mean, how do you dress as Edward Cullen? Do you just like put on expensive clothes and throw glitter on yourself?
Well, the times are weird. Clowns are scary now.
Right.
And vampires are romantic.
It is strange, but I don't know what you mean clowns are scary now.
Well, yeah, clowns have always been scary. I'm just saying, as a difference.
They kill you.
We go to 2010. It was Snooki from the Jersey Shore.
Are you kidding me? That was a costume?
I wish I was. Be nice. We won't describe how you make that costume. 2011, Sue Sylvester from Glee.
That's great.
Which I would be happy to see that one now.
Yes.
I would be happy to see that costume now. 2012, Psy, Gangnam Style. Which seems a bit racist. I don't know how you do that costume.
Well, he has an appearance. I mean, he has an
appearance,
and you do the dance.
Yes. You just got to be careful with some costumes. Yeah, really do. 2013, she makes the list again under a new agenda. Miley Cyrus.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was from the VMAs. I've seen the costume. It was kind of this crazy bear thing or whatever. Oh, okay. Anyway, Miley Cyrus. 2014, Maleficent.
Ah, yes, that'd be a cool costume.
With one of the most gorgeous ladies aside from you on the planet, Angelina Jolie.
Very beautiful.
Very beautiful. 2015, speaking of very beautiful, Harley Quinn.
There you go.
2016, speaking of very beautiful, Harley Quinn.
Really? 2 years in a row?
Oh, she baby. Yeah.
Ah, so I wonder what it's going to be this year.
Oh, I've already got it.
Oh, do you?
So I've got the top 10 for this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in order.
Oh, okay then.
Here we go. Here's where our society is now. And honestly, it's a bit more wholesome than the 90s. I have to say.
Okay.
This is not what I expected.
Right.
When I was doing this little experiment, I expected, the 80s and 90s to be much more wholesome. But in the 80s, we dressed as serial killers.
Right.
Serial killers.
Yeah.
We
idolized them.
We were watching people kill 30, 40 people, and it was fantastic.
Right.
And you know what we didn't do?
What?
Go kill people. It was strange.
Yeah.
But in the 90s, we dressed as a cavalcade of craziness. And in the early 2000s, it was wonky here and there. So 2017.
Okay.
Number 10, a dinosaur.
Oh, because of those funny dinosaur costumes that people have. I love those.
Yes. Number 9, a zombie.
Of course.
Thank you, Walking Dead.
Walking Dead.
Number 8, a pirate.
Wow. What generic costumes? Like, it's not specific. This
is a Google top 10.
Wow. Okay. Keep going.
Number 7, a mouse.
A mouse. Like a sexy mouse or just a mouse?
Just a mouse. Sexy mouse was not listed.
Okay. I hate when people do that. They just take anything and turn it into a sexy whatever.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to see sexy mouse. 6, a witch.
Of course.
You don't even have to do anything.
You can't go wrong with a classic.
No.
Can't go wrong with a classic.
And I'll talk about the best one I've ever seen here in a second with you. Number 5 was a rabbit.
That's weird.
Yeah, for this year. I would like to have a rabbit with a hole. Somehow for our rabbit hole.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. I wasn't sure where that was going.
Wow.
I didn't know. That's why I was looking at you kind of funny. I wasn't sure where you were going with that exactly. So I'm glad that's where it went.
No, I want my witch with a hole. The rabbit needs no hole.
Anyway, continue.
Number 4, a unicorn.
Oh.
And I think the unicorns come with hole built in.
Yes.
Number 3, a clown.
Oh, God.
Specifically,
Pennywise.
Pennywise the clown. Number 2, Harley Quinn.
Oh, wow. She makes the list again.
Yes, she's there again, but she got beat out this year. Do you have, Stacey Edwards, any ideas on pop culture, number 1? You got to put a lot of thought into it because the last 2 years has been a female costume.
Right. So is it a female costume this year?
I can't say that. I just said the last 2 years.
You know what? I bet it's Wonder Woman.
It's Wonder Woman.
Yep. Because of the movie.
And I am glad to see her shining where she rightfully belongs. So 2 real fun things. As a kid, speaking of more of my tendencies, that is really surprising that I'm married to a girl. As a kid, I played Wonder Woman constantly. All I wanted to be was Wonder Woman. I would spin in kitchens in front of family, and I remember them laughing, and I was thinking, I must be cute. And I would turn into Wonder Woman. Did
they shake their heads at you like this?
I would sing Wonder Woman all the time, and I'd like put fake bracelets on and pretend that I was in I had my lasso of truth, and I loved Wonder Woman. I idolized Wonder Woman.
She's pretty awesome.
She is awesome.
I had Wonder Woman underoos. Do you remember underoos?
I never had underoos. And there's a reason. I was embarrassed to be in the line when they were being purchased.
Oh, I see.
So I would never let them buy underoos.
Well, I always got them as gifts, but I loved underoos, and I had always had like the superhero ones. I remember I had Wonder Woman ones.
No, I had tidy whities. that was my. I'm the traditional kid you see on a movie that's climbing into bed. Yeah. So my favorite Halloween costume that I've ever seen is you as a dead girl.
Oh, I did so good that year.
It was the most amazing costume, and you're freaking just gorgeous anyway. But you had your hair longer than it had ever been at that point. It was down past your butt, and it was glorious too. But you did this costume, and I don't even want to call it a zombie. You were.
I'll tell you what I did. I just wore regular like long sleeves and long pants, but then I took makeup. And I covered my whole, kind of like your vampire thing, like my arms, my face, my neck. And I did like this white and blue like mixture. So I really looked dead.
Yeah.
And then I left my hair straight and I let it, I didn't wash it that day. So I let it get kind of stringy. And I think I may have even put some product in it too to make it kind of gunky looking. And I just put some dark under my eyes. And I mean, that was basically it, but it looked so amazing. Like I was even proud of myself.
Yeah, you were terrified.
It was great.
You were actually scaring people. And, Raja actually made 100% sewn together Rainbow Dash. And she did amazing as Rainbow Dash a couple years ago. She's so creative. And she made Pinkie Pie for Ariana.
They went together. Yeah. Well, I was going to say the costumes as they went on, I mean, that was really interesting. But I think the difference between now and then is people do a lot more of a cosplay type costume now where they put their own spin on things.
Right.
And it makes it a lot more fun and interesting and more, variety.
I think you were talking about the naughty costumes. I guess I'm a big fan of the schoolgirl, the Dorothy, but nothing for me, the naughty stuff, it doesn't do it. Like,
no, I hate the naughty stuff. That is one of my pet peeves.
Well, it just doesn't do it for me, because you know me. If you dressed as a librarian with your hair up in a bun and a pencil and some glasses, that's me, buddy. I love nerds. I love nerdy girls. I love good girls, and because I like to make them realize how fun it is to be bad. Yeah, so Corruption 101. And that's I thought maybe you guys would like to look at some of the Halloween outfits from
that's awesome.
Throughout the years and some pretty cool stuff. And I guess it's about time for us.
No, wait. We're talking about Halloween costumes, so I want to talk about my favorite costume you've ever worn.
Okay.
Because we've been through a lot of Halloweens together.
We've been through many Halloweens together.
Yes. So speaking, because you talked a lot about all the stuff you dressed up when you were a kid, Wonder Woman and, things like that. You told me the leg warmer story with, oh, I don't think you did that on the show, did you?
I don't think I did.
Okay, well, just glossing over that.
No, so I did the flash dance in front of a mirror. Can we spend a little bit of time talking about all the manly stuff I've done in my life?
No.
Okay.
So the first Halloween we were actually together, we were going to meet out. And you were like, I'm going to come dressed in my costume. And you didn't tell me what it was going to be.
Right.
And so we went to the shore, which was our favorite place.
Yeah.
And our favorite band was playing. And so I was there already. And I was hanging out with some friends. And you were there. And I didn't know you were there. You were standing right next to me. And you were dressed like a woman. I mean, had your makeup done, had the wig on, boobs, like big boobs, a dress. And you must have stood there for 10 minutes or so. And when I didn't realize who you were, you started staring at me. And it really freaked me out because I could see you out of the corner of my eye, but I didn't know it was you because you looked really pretty. I mean, not that you don't look pretty normally, but you make a really pretty woman. So I could see you at the corner of my eye. And finally, I just looked because I was just going to be like, what are you looking at? And I realized it was you. And you started laughing. I was like, good God.
I think I moshed in that.
Crazy. You did. And then you went home and changed because I think you tore your dress or something.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got in the mosh pit as a woman.
Yes, I'm pretty sure you've done the woman thing a couple of times. That was the best, though. That one was the best.
Yeah, in wrestling, I lost a match that I wrote the angle. And I lost a match where I would have to wear a dress for 30 days. And so anytime I showed up at the arena, I had to have the dress on because the gimmick was on TV. that no matter where I went, I had to wear a dress.
I remember we went to thrift stores to find the ugliest dresses we could possibly find for like muumuus and stuff.
And the whole thing was I embraced it. Like, so I had this spot, and Tim Clark loved this because he took pictures of it. I did this birthday party at a Greenville show for me. And it was all done just so they could smash my head in the cake.
Yes, they even made you that nice picture.
Yeah.
Frame thing that we've got on the wall.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so they did the thing where I wanted my head smashed in a cake. And it was an old Jim Cornette spot. And Bobby Heenan's done it and everything. So I wanted to do it. And the funny thing was, I was wearing this flimsy panties. Okay.
Right.
So the manly part of me, decided to not stay where it was supposed to. So I took this bump off the ring. So everybody that paid for those front row seats that night got a little bit more than they bargained for.
So you were wearing girly panties too?
Well, I wanted to do it right.
Even though nobody could see under the dress.
No, I expected it to fly up.
Oh, okay.
And
were they frilly?
The whole funny thing was, it don't matter if they were frilly. The whole funny thing to it was that it was supposed to be that I embraced it too much. You know, like because
right, you enjoyed it too much.
I was supposed to wear a dress, but instead of just wearing a dress, I carried a handbag.
And you wore the frilly panties. Did you wear shiny buckley shoes?
I put a brick in my handbag. And,
there you go.
And, you know, so the people seen me pull the brick out of the handbag and all this stuff. So it backfired on them because they can't outsmart John Hawkins, which was my wrestling name. But yeah, funny stuff. And speaking of wrestling real quick, I do want to mention, and we'll put a link to this on our page, a brother of mine from wrestling has really went a long way in the sport. And I managed him early in his career. My actual favorite promo I ever did was with him. His name's Chase Owens. He's a member of the Bullet Club, and he's a brother of mine. And you know, he's went on to New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he has a new vlog that he's going to start doing. He just put it up today, and he's already got like 150 subscribers. But he'll be showing his journey, like you know, we talked about it, and you know, because people are interested in the journey more than the destination, and that's the fun part for anything, right? So we'll put a link on there. Give it, you know, if you like wrestling at all, give it a try, check it out. If you don't like wrestling, give it a try and check it out. But I just wanted to give a little plug to my buddy.
All right.
And with that said, I think it's about time for some paranormal news.
All right, so let's get to the news.
Let's not.
Why not?
Yeah. So you interrupted my outro going into the news intro. If that's possible to have the outro to the intro. But I wanted to say a shout out to one of our listeners.
Okay.
And it was funny because you never know what your words can mean to someone.
Right.
Okay. And that's a two-way street. And I really want to talk about that with you guys for a second. We have so many wonderful listeners and so many friends like that we've made over the last 7 years of doing this show that are going to be lifelong friends, lifelong friends and acquaintances that we found through the paranormal and specifically through the show. And you never know when words of encouragement are going to help someone that's in a bad spot. And, you know, not to go too deep into it, but I am one of the happiest guys in the world. Okay. But my entire life, I have dealt with issues, and, you know, as many of us have, with anxiety, with stress, with such disorders. And you can be so happy, you can be on top of the world, and it doesn't matter. You can still have those moments. And it's been a very long time since that has hit me as hard as it's hit me in the past week. And, you know, if I sound a bit emotional, it's because I am a bit emotional. But I was trying to recover, and I got a message, and we get on average, I don't know, a dozen messages a week from listeners, and they're always wonderful. It's always great to hear. You know, that always makes us really happy. And it's funny because the messages a lot of times are around the same way, you know, listening to you two and means this or whatever, you know, and they feel like, because we're very open about who we are.
Right.
And I got one of those messages today. And his name, I'm going to give a shout out to Seth Bell, who, sent a message today to us. And it was just at the right time.
Right.
And he even said, I feel like I was supposed to send this.
Right.
And it totally turned my day around. It totally turned my week around, just because there was some things that we will not talk about. It was personal things. And it just so happened that I was manning the board at the time. Sometimes, a lot of times I'm gone working 12 hours of the day, and 12 hours is a easy day for me. But because I overwork, but a lot of times I don't have time. Like I'll get home and Stacy will be like, "Did you see this?" And I'll be like, "I don't look at Facebook. I don't." From 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. I don't have a chance. And so it just so happened that I was looking at it, and it was the right time, and it was just a nice message. And then we had some similarities in some things, and it was just the right time. So, the reason I'm saying that is because, unfortunately, hell, we've lost icons this year to things like suicide, and it doesn't have to be suicide. It can be just someone completely down in the dumps, completely having a terrible time. And everything you see is so hate-filled and so hateful, and they're so polarizing opposites with people, on their political beliefs or just their beliefs in general anymore.
Right.
And nobody has discussions anymore. And we don't get into that on purpose, but just know the powers that your words have. Words are so important, and this does relate to the paranormal as well, because when you go into a haunted house, and you go in there violent, you go in there hateful, you're going to get that reciprocated. And, when you go in there and you're nice and you're politeful, new word, and you go in there.
Respectful, I think is what you mean.
And you're respectful, you tend to get a lot more. There's times
positive interaction.
There's times to be that way, just like there's times to be that way in life. Somebody disrespects you, then that's time to do that. But
on the other side of that, if you're somebody that feels the need to reach out to somebody else, like maybe you just feel like you need to contact somebody, don't push that aside.
Don't hesitate.
Maybe you need to send them just a message.
The universe has special ways of doing things. And by the universe, you can call that God. You can call that the universe. You can call that Jimmy McJohn. I don't care. Whatever you want to call it.
I want to call it Jimmy McJohn.
Jimmy McJohn. You can call it the flying spaghetti monster. I don't. Whatever. It's the universe. And sometimes you get messages to send something to someone or to say something to someone. You never know what your words, how powerful your words are. I do believe words can hurt worse than a fist. And, I do believe that words can be more positive than a mound full of cash. So just let's love each other, and let's have some more positive things. And I want to say, Mr. Seth Bell, thank you for being a listener. Thank you for binging the show at work. I don't want to get you in trouble with your work, but thank you for binging the show at work. And we don't do a whole lot of shout outs to listeners on here. I think this is the second one I've ever done, aside from people that I can't escape, like Alan Marston. I love you, Alan. But it was well deserved, and you didn't know what you did. So I wanted to let you know on the show.
There you go.
And now it's time for the news.
Okay, so now we're going to get into some news.
Let's.
All right, so let's start with this first story. It's really kind of just an update to something we talked about last week.
And I got an update for you.
What's
One
that?
more interruption. So I got a message from a friend of mine back in Virginia who's also a district manager, Marty Elliott. Marty Elliott. Marty sent me this link. He's like, this is so crazy. It was a Mandela effect. So he just went down that rabbit hole. Now, Marty had listened to our first 5 episodes, and I'm shouting out to him because I know he's going to be listening to this, because I was like, what are you doing not keeping up with the show, man?
Right.
So I told him we talked quite a bit about Mandela effect. So I
think it was like episode 8. It was a little further than he got.
So I'm sending him way down that rabbit hole. How you doing, Marty?
So this first story, like I said, is kind of an update. It's the one where we talked about the JFK files, the release of the JFK files.
Oh my God, I'm so happy.
And I talked about this last week, and the story that I had on it last week was basically just a story about what a problem is going to be when all these files came out at the same time and how it was going to make it problematic. It wasn't necessarily about the release. And since then, this is kind of blown up because President Trump has actually announced that he intends to let the release happen, that he's not going to stop it.
Crazy.
But he did tweet, I think like last Saturday, that pending further information, he was going to let it go ahead. So he kind of left the door open there for if he found out something else or to be able to retract that if he had to. But I don't think he's going to. As far as it stands now, they're supposed to be released on the 26th, which is Thursday. So I haven't seen anything that said that it's not going to happen.
So former governor of Minnesota and former pro wrestler. I like to start with former pro wrestler because that means you're credible and you know how the world really works. Jesse Ventura, a huge conspiracy theorist and all that good stuff. Jesse actually talked about this earlier, and in a few ways, I kind of agree with some of the things he said. And I'm just going to quote what he posted. Here are my thoughts on the soon-to-be released JFK assassination records. The government loses either way. First, I doubt there are any big smoking gun in there. So if there's no smoking gun, then the next question is, why was it not released earlier? Why was it all hidden for 54 years? If nothing changes the government's official story of who Oswald was and that he acted alone, then apply common sense to it. Why would anything have to be put away until now? Clearly, something is hidden. They've had over 50 years to cleanse the books behind closed doors. I still don't think Trump will release everything. I think he'll get too much pressure put on him in the final hour. But we'll wait and see what happens tomorrow. And at the time, press time here, as we are recording this, it is the night before.
Yes.
This is supposed to be released.
Right. And he is getting a lot of pressure from like CIA, other agencies to not let the documents be released. And we're talking about like 3,100. Like a huge cache of documents.
This is huge.
It is huge. Now, there is speculation that even if they are released, it's going to be like that previous release and tons of stuff will be redacted and you're not going to get any information anyway. But, it's cool that Trump is at least willing to let that out now.
Okay, look, like Jesse said, all right, and I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on this. This is bigger. This is like the stuff that we all love, right? JFK, as I said last week, that's what got most of us into conspiracy theories. This is big, either way you look at it. Like Jesse said, 50 years plus that this has been hidden. It's been hidden for a reason.
Right.
Now, it's one of those that just stinks.
Oh, yeah.
You know that there's more to it.
Right.
And he was a maverick. And even though he was, such a great president, he had a lot of Trump-esque moments of, being a maverick and, doing certain things and everything. Not that I agree with most of it or any of it or anything like that or on one side or the other.
Right.
Just saying that they had some similarities in that. Trump right now seems to be in a way where he's kind of got hate coming from the Republicans and the Democrats. And he might just put his middle finger up to all of it. I don't know.
I mean, it seems that way.
If this comes out, then I have to think that there is something in there. I think it's time for our government. If our government wants us to heal, and wants us to start believing in them again. And I know you're listening right now, CIA. So this is important. If you want us to start healing as a nation, one of the best ways to do that, tell the truth and be open. Be open about what things were false flags. Be open about what things have been done in the past. We know about some things like the Gulf of Tonkin incident that I referenced for getting us in Vietnam. Open these things up. And you know what? If you made a mistake, those mistakes were made by men who were all passed away for the most part, except for maybe the Bushes. Who
seem to just live on and on.
Yeah, well, they're a big part of this. There's a huge part with George Bush Senior there, and so that's one reason that I'm sure that it's been pushed away for a long time. Right. But if we can have an open conversation about what happened, why it happened, the mistakes that were made, and go to the healing of that and get that out there, just like UFO disclosure.
The whole thing would go away. Once everybody knew, then it wasn't a mystery anymore. They'd forget about it.
Yeah.
I mean, quickly.
Seriously, I mean, once someone is honest and says what they did, it gets talked about and figured out, and it's done.
Hopefully, I'll have something on the next show about this, about whether it came out, whether it didn't come out, and if it did, what was in it. I'm hoping that,
if there is a smoking gun, we're going to have a quick 20-minute show. that
well, it'll take people. I mean, that's a lot of files, so there's people that just comb through that stuff.
I would have, if I had the money, I would have a team of 10,000 people that were all reading a page, you know.
Just there's only 3,000 pages.
Well, I couldn't hire the smartest people. So there's going to be like 3 people per page.
Just in case.
And
quality control.
Like 3 1/4 people per page. And the quarter people are hard to find.
They are hard to find.
They really are.
It's like trying to find the 0.5 kid.
Yeah.
You know, to have your 2.5 kids.
It really is hard.
All right. Well, let's move on to this really awesome story about the fossil teeth that is supposedly going to rewrite history.
This one I absolutely love. It is my personal rabbit hole.
Okay, so let's see if I can explain what's going on here.
What's going on around here?
What they found is some fossil teeth.
Yes.
2 fossil teeth. They were found near the German town of Eppelsheim back in September of 2016.
Right.
And they've been
they waited a year
studying them for a year. So what is causing this big uproar with these teeth is they have dated them to 9.7 million years old.
Right.
Which is ridiculously old.
And for listeners of the show, you know that we have been through many ages of man, in my belief, and I believe that we have had high technology, and you can even throw out the alien thing, whether or not aliens interfered or not. I believe we have went all the way up, all the way down, all the way up, all the way down. I believe that we've went through several ages of man, and even if you look at the Indian epic, you know, the Mahabharata, Radha, Dada, Ding Dong, it's
a tongue twister.
You know, it's amazing because some of the flying machines and this and that, and it's just like when they found Troy. You know, that was a myth. That was. They thought that wasn't there. You know, and we talk about. I've made the joke a month ago. I was like, you know, every few weeks we go back a few more million years. Yeah. You know, and there's things they find in stone that shouldn't be there, and you know, there's more, guys. There is a lot of cool secrets out there. They don't know how the pyramids were built. I need the link to this debunking video that makes so much sense that we will put on the website. That about, you know, a few weeks ago they had the thing, well, this is how it was made. It was, you know, Gilligan brought it in a raft, and
that's right.
You know, all this stuff. So it's so much bigger. This story is huge because even with the cradle of life, it kind of
right. Well, that's what I was going to say. They have these 2 teeth, and one of the teeth definitely belongs to one of humanity's primitive ancestors, a hominin. And up until now, they've only seen teeth like this in Africa, not Europe. Because I think the thinking is that people didn't start migrating into Europe except for like 100,000 years ago. And these are millions of years old. So that was something that was very strange. But the other tooth, and they're sure that these teeth come from the same person. The other tooth it has close affinities with the hominin species, kind of like the Lucy. Right. Skeleton, the Lucy skeleton. Right. But Lucy's only 3 million years old. Right. This is way, way older than that. So they're not really sure exactly what kind of species these teeth come from because of the location and because of the age. And there's a lot of debate going on where there are some people that are arguing that it's not going to rewrite our history because the teeth just come from a previously unknown species.
See, those people are the people who don't let us have nice things.
They're the people that try to take everything and fit it into the timeline that they already think is right. Right. Instead of really, you know, researching it. Now,
they're the people who brought the stones down on Gilligan's Raft to build the pyramid.
Now, the team actually has a lot of different theories. They're not speculating and saying definitely this is this. They know that it could possibly be something we've never seen before. They say that, you know, there's an explanation where they could possibly belong to hominoids, not hominins, which is a little bit different ancestor. Right. And then there's even a more distant group of ancestors called the Pleopithocoids, which they acknowledge that these all things could happen. Like they aren't trying to say that they know what these teeth come from. And it has been sensationalized a little bit with the whole rewriting history thing.
Well, I mean, but there is a great chance that it can.
Well, yeah, and it's very strange, especially the fact of the location, the fact that these teeth were found in Europe.
It's 9 million years ago. Yeah. Okay, if you had an upright half-ape thing walking around that looked somewhat like a human 9 million years ago in Europe, I think it's a big deal.
Right. Well, just the fact they didn't even think people were in Europe.
Yeah.
That long ago.
I mean, it's because they don't know anything. And,
right.
And, I heard someone say, scientists, I always make the joke, scientists are baffled. Scientists really don't. They try to fit everything into the accepted box. If they don't, they get defunded. They can't be part of the universities. That's why you need to follow the fringe sciences. I mean, you need to follow the people they're probably being mocked because they're the ones.
Because they're going to end up being right.
Dr. Robert Schoch, go read a book. That right there will take you, read about the Sphinx and open your mind. That right there is enough that'll get you started. This YouTube channel that I've actually watched a lot, this Bright Insight, I want you guys to go watch the videos. I have no affiliation with them whatsoever.
Right. They're just interesting.
It's just one of the things that I watch.
Right.
This is huge.
It is. And the team that's studying it, they actually are going to continue to study the teeth in great detail. And they have just released these findings. It's been a year. So they've just released this as a...
They sat on it for a year because they were worried what people were going to say.
Right. Well, they wanted to be sure, but they still aren't sure. And they're actually saying they're not sure.
Right.
So I think that's pretty impressive. And, I feel like all the people that are just downplaying it are, like we said, are just, scientists that have their own timeline. And if these things don't fit in, they're going to be like, no, that can't be right.
I mean, they're notorious for hiding things,
Oh, yeah.
The giant bones for the Smithsonian, that's the big thing.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Smithsonian?
I mean, the Grand Canyon and the tomb or the cave they found with Egyptian artifacts and stuff in the early 1900s. If you dig and you look at this stuff, you will get as upset and crazy about it as me. And I think there's a reason that these things are happening now. The last few years, we've been talking about this. I think that there's a reason. You remember, like in the 80s and the 90s, we didn't really have a whole lot of stuff, coming up like it is. And now all of a sudden we've got better equipment. We've got all this technology. We're able to go back and find this stuff. And I mean, tomorrow can always be the day that we find this incredible proof of so many things. And you got to go back to the UFO thing for a second. Finding all these different versions of humans really does kind of give a little bit of credence to that alien interference.
Right.
That's kind of nuts.
Boosting the evolutionary chain there.
And I'll get off my my box about it, but it just excites me. This one doesn't make me. This is exciting, and it's the kind of stuff that I love.
Yes, so it's going to go on the list of keep checking.
Well, it goes on the list of, once again, J.R.R. Tolkien was absolutely correct, and they probably found hobbits.
Hobbit teeth.
Yes.
Hobbit teeth. There you go. All right, well, let's move on. And this next story is actually about another discovery. And this is a cool story. It's about 400 mysterious ancient stone structures that were discovered in Saudi Arabia.
More exciting. And this is crazy.
Yes.
Listen to this one, guys.
So it's roughly about 400 mysterious stone structures that date back thousands of years have actually been discovered in Saudi Arabia in like these lava flows, these old lava domes and the places where these lava flows were. And the archaeologists that actually found them, they're calling them gates,
right?
Like, because they kind of resemble gates, but they don't actually know what they're for. And they don't even know exactly how old they are. They sort of found them. I believe they used satellite imagery to find them, and they haven't had a chance to get in there and really study them. But they're all stone built. They're rough and they're made kind of low. And the really unusual thing about them is they found other stone structures in the same area, the same lava flow area, but the stone structures that they found were on top of these gates.
Right.
So these gates are older than all the things that they've already found. And also they found some of these gates that they're calling, again, they're just calling them that because they don't really know what they are. Some of them have lava flows that go over them. So some of the gates are even older than the lava flow. So it makes it seem like that terrain was not like that a long time ago. Right. Obviously somebody got down there and was able to build these, and then the lava came later and flowed over it. So very exciting. They can't wait to get in there and do some field work to try and determine the age and maybe decide what they are. They have no idea. They're actually pretty big. It says the smallest extends about 43 feet, but the longest is about 1,699 feet, which is longer than a football field, an NFL football field.
Stargates.
So some of them have multiple stone walls and make like a rectangle, and some have like an eye, and just craziness.
I firmly believe, like I was joking about the Tolkien thing, which I'm not joking. I firmly believe that people are not given. I have a problem believing that people just come up with stuff. I think that these muses, these universal muses, are almost hearkening you back to another time. Right. And people come out like, Lucas had a dream, right? And dreamed the whole Star Wars thing, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Right. The Middle Earth with Tolkien, that to me, it always feels like there was just a freaking orb go right through this room.
Oh, I didn't see it. I was looking the other direction.
I saw one earlier, and this one went from over there, and it actually stopped right here, did a circle, and went that way. Huh. And
someone here listening to our show.
Wow. So let me get back to, so Middle Earth, with Tolkien, when you go through those books and, the elves are talking about leaving and how it's going to be the age of man soon and all this stuff, it just really, not to be super geek about it all, but it seems more and more and more like, what if, just throwing it out there, what if some of this knowledge is the universal knowledge, right? Which that's a thing. And it's given to certain people, but some people take it as a musing of, oh, I should write this story.
Right. Instead of being history, I think it's just a story.
And like Nikola Tesla, he was hit with something, obviously. And I really believe that sometimes we tap in. Last week we talked about turning the channels. Right. Right. And being tuned in to certain frequencies. I think sometimes in our dream world, that sometimes we're getting something that's important that humanity knows, and maybe humanity forgot.
Universal consciousness.
Right. The universal consciousness. Yeah, actually.
It's very interesting. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye out on that. Hopefully they can actually get someone down there to study those, because I'm really interested in what those even are. Yeah. Because it's strange. All right. Well, this next story is just something I wanted to mention. I wanted to kind of get your take on it because it was going around everywhere. And this is the story of the video of the ghost car, the quote unquote ghost car that popped out and caused an accident.
Yeah, crazy.
So I know you've seen this.
I've watched it several times.
Everybody has been playing this video. And basically, it's a short clip. There's a white BMW that attempts to navigate like an intersection. And all of a sudden, it slams into the side of this car that just seems like it appears out of absolutely nowhere. I've watched it. I've probably watched it 100 times. I cannot figure out where that car came from.
Yeah, me either.
And, I've looked at comments and people are like, well, it's in front of the car. You just can't see it. It's blocked. But, it would have to be really close to that BMW. And then what on earth would the person driving the BMW be doing that they didn't see that car right there in front of them?
It's crazy. And if you haven't seen it, go look for yourself. We'll have it on.
I'll link it.
Yeah, we'll have the link. It's not going to do it justice just to talk about it. No. I can say this much. There should be an accident report. Right. Right. I mean, there's an accident, so there should be an accident report.
I mean, it wasn't a terrible accident. Nobody died. It was just sort of a, them hitting each other, but it was so weird.
We should be able to find this out. And you know what it made me think of?
What's that?
The famous police chase that Ben Hansen and crew tried to debunk on Fact or Faked. The one where it's from the dash cam of the police cruiser, and I think it's like a Cavalier, so I don't know. They're chasing some kind of car, and the car goes through a fence, a regular chain link fence. And the fence, like even if the fence was loose on the bottom, it would be shaking back and forth because a car just drove through it.
I remember that. Yeah. And, it's crazy.
And the car drives through it and you see the taillights going, but there's no possible way in this world that car could have drove through that. No possible way. That car time slipped or it was just a remnant or something. And time bleeds like that. Time, we've experienced time slips. And it's almost like you just don't know where all of a sudden you're driving along and you don't recognize the road you're on. And then all of a sudden it comes back or the trip took 20 minutes longer than you expected it to. And such things. I truly believe that these frequencies bleed over to one another. And sometimes weird stuff happens, especially in haunted locations.
Yes, yes. And at certain times of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Like something now.
All right, so let's move on to this next story. And this one was from Brazil. And this is the one where there supposedly was a UFO that landed, and they're investigating it, and there's possibly a cover-up going on.
Yeah, it's nuts.
So this is near Sao Paulo, Brazil. And residents in a nearby little town of Peroibe, Peroibe, I think that's how you say that.
Peroibe.
They saw this bright light around dawn. Now, this happened earlier on in October.
Not around the god dawn, but around morning.
Like when the sun was coming up, yes.
We talked to Don. He's like, see, UFO.
So when they went out to check it out, they found the vegetation has been smashed to the ground.
Yes.
Kind of like in a crop circle, only this wasn't a crop circle. It was just a big space where all the vegetation had been pushed down as though something had landed there. And the impression was like 32 meters by 2 meters. So it was not small. It was a giant thing. And so people are saying that a UFO or a flying saucer landed there, and they had people come in and like cordon it off. They like roped it off. They wouldn't let anyone near there. And they had some investigators come in and look into it, but nobody reported on it. Like it's just now being reported on, and it's been weeks. And so nobody really knows why they didn't say anything if it was nothing.
I actually sent this one to Ben Hansen, speaking of Ben Hansen.
Yes. So now the article that I was looking at was actually a Mysterious Universe article, and it was talking about one of the investigators. And the investigator's name is Saga Sussulitan Souza, which kind of sounds like a Dr. Seuss character.
Right.
But this investigator claims to have 35 years of experience in UFO investigations. And after viewing the area, this investigator said that it was something that was not made by a human, that it was probably a UFO, and it was in circular movements so that the vegetation was just crumpled down, kind of like you'd see in a crop circle. And this particular investigator also said that the electricity went out in the neighborhood at the time of the sighting, and that those living close by to where it landed reported nausea and like malaise, like they just didn't feel good. And so it's a big mystery.
Yeah.
Like they haven't actually come out and said what it was, but they also took weeks to come out and even say that it happened.
Right. Absolutely.
So it's very strange.
This looks legit as can be to me. And when you see the picture, you're like, oh crap. What physical evidence is that? It's really a cool story and a very cool picture. And, we've had weird nights, man. And anybody who listens to the show for a long time knows some of those scoop mark type things. But we've had some weird nights where the next day we've had like a circular burn pattern out in the yard. I mean,
and no idea where it came from. Like no explanation for it. It's
no explanation.
Strange. Yes.
So I do say that it happens. And this is just a cool one.
Well, the only other thing that was pointed out was this town, this Peruibe town, they actually host an annual ufological meeting in their town. And it actually garners a lot of attention. A lot of people attend. And they sort of have this ufology tourism where there are supposedly different places in the city where there's been a lot of sightings. So I think that the person writing this article was sort of suggesting that maybe they were playing this up to kind of get their ufology tourism,
but
going
what if the reason is because they really have the sightings?
Right. Obviously, that's what I was thinking. Obviously, they really have all these sightings. Now, I don't know if this happened near one of those sighting places, but obviously they have all these
There
sightings
might be
of
an
like
alien race that likes to abduct people in skinny jeans.
maybe. And the residents always report things like UFOs, landing marks, lights, and beings. Like they see it all.
Yeah.
So yeah, Brazil, definitely a place to see a UFO, right?
Absolutely. I mean, Argentina is the place to see a UFO, honestly.
Well, really cool story. And go to the link on our website, and you can see the pictures. And there's a great picture of the actual landing mark there.
Yeah, not the landing. That would be
not
awesome.
the actual landing. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
There would be no debating it.
No, actually, there is a video of the landing on our website now.
All right. So this next story is just a story I saw going around. It's the medical one where they did this study saying that they've discovered that people, when they die, they know that they're dead.
Right.
Did you see this
Yes,
study?
yes.
And so this was kind of an interesting study that they did where they took cardiac arrest patients.
It's terrifying.
And it is terrifying. And they, did scans of their brains and did a lot of different tests on them to see if they had any kind of activity after they were supposedly dead. Now, a lot of these people were ones that died and then they were brought back.
Right.
And they talked to them. And a lot of these people claim that they heard their doctors and nurses having conversations in the room, even though they had been pronounced dead. Once they'd been brought back, they had a memory of actually knowing what was going on and understanding what was going on. And those stories were corroborated with the doctors and nurses that were in the room. Like they said, yes, we did say that, or we did have that conversation. So they've come to the conclusion that just because you are clinically dead, you either know that you're dead or you're still living on there for a little while.
Yeah, or the spirit was still hearing it and had yet to exit the body.
Yes, they didn't go that in depth in it. But
Just saying.
Yes.
To me, that when I first read it, I was like, you know what? That spirit is in that body and has yet to leave. So it's hearing everything that's happening, because sometimes you have the operating table deal where people leave their body and they have the out of body experience, see themselves being operated on. There's some of them that go down the hallway and have the relatives in the room. I mean, there's a lot of crazy stories of, being brought back, unless you're John Tenney, who was just seeing darkness. The scariest thing I've ever heard in my life.
It was pretty traumatic.
Where he went to the nothing. But, most of the time it's like pretty intriguing. And I mean, it's why we study this stuff,
Well, it is intriguing because supposedly the way that they do it in science is once your heart stops and there's no blood flow going to your brain stops and supposedly there's nothing. And that's when they declare that you're dead. But this study proves that there's obviously some brain activity still going on or something still going on for at least a little while after they pronounce you dead. So maybe medical's idea of dead is just not right. Maybe that's not really the point of death. Maybe they're just wrong about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know.
Which is very scary.
It's an interesting study.
I mean, it's scary in so many ways because it's scary about going through the embalming and going through and knowing. Just imagine that, knowing what's happening.
I always have a fear of, you see those horror movies where people are actually just paralyzed.
Yeah.
But everybody thinks they're dead and they're like doing all this. I was like, oh, I hope that never, ever happens to me. What would you do? It would be terrible.
Yeah. I wish I could put orders out there not to embalm me. Like, could you please just put me into an escapable, glass or something?
I want a coffin with a handle on the inside and don't bury me for like a month.
Or at least a sat phone or something,
Come get me out of here.
Oh, man. Can you imagine the load you would drop in your drawers if you bury me with a satellite, which you're going to. Okay, it's a thing now. I want to be buried with a satellite phone. Right. And that will work from anywhere. And I want to be down there to be able to give you a phone call. I just can't imagine. It's not going to happen because I'm turning you into a diamond. I'm sorry. I've already decided. All right. All right, well, let's move on. So this next story I thought was kind of interesting. And this is the one about some Italian scientists who report a patient who sweats blood. Oh. So I got this story because I thought it was really interesting. The whole article is about this 21-year-old patient that actually went to the hospital because for 3 years she had been bleeding from her face and her palms. And she's just like, she doesn't have any cuts or anything like that. It's like she's just sweating the blood.
And so they observed her for a while and they treated her. She was very depressed and very anxious, obviously. I mean, you would be. And they diagnosed her with a condition that they actually gave her medicine for. And they have a name for the condition and everything. And they're claiming that this is the reason why she sweats blood like this.
Wow.
So I got this article because I thought it was really interesting because it sounds very much like what people would claim was happening if they had a stigmata. And so I was wondering if maybe all the people that ever claimed that they had stigmata was maybe just had this medical condition. Or if the medical condition is wrong and she's really having this stigmata. The thing I thought was weird, though, is I kind of looked up stigmata. It's funny because you can go to Catholic.org. I love going to that website when I have to look up something like religious based because it's like, God internet. It's great. So I looked up what they talk about with stigmata because, they have saints and stuff that had it. And every story that I read on there, people were claiming that they felt really good and they felt really close to God. And supposedly one guy claims that people have it because they have this poignancy with Jesus and they feel for him so much that they get this stigmata.
Yeah.
And see, she was not like that. She was very depressed and she was very anxious and she was very, unhappy with what was going on. So I don't know. It was a weird kind of thing.
Well, maybe both things exist.
It could be. It did say that she isolated herself and she wouldn't go out because, because of the bleeding, obviously. So that could have contributed to her feelings.
Kind of hard to walk around town with a crimson mask all the time.
Right. But the doctors did claim that the case was most unusual.
Yeah, you think?
And I feel like maybe if she had just gone to the church instead of the hospital and got both sides of the story, maybe she wouldn't feel so bad about it. I don't know. She could
have been sainted.
I don't know. But I thought it was really interesting because you just don't hear about stuff like that very much at all anymore.
You really don't.
It's a very old thing. All right. So this is another update. And you're going to love this. This is an update on the vampire mobs in Malawi.
Oh,
do you
really?
remember we were talking about this? And this is actually a terrible thing. Like these mobs of people are afraid that there are bloodsuckers loose and they are killing people.
Right.
Because they're suspecting them.
You're getting ready to tell me that there were really vampires found, right?
No. I was just going to update you and let you know that it's actually gotten worse.
Oh.
And there has been no calming of the people there. They still believe that there are vampires running around. And the police have actually arrested 200 suspected members of this vigilante mob that have just been going around killing people.
Wow.
And so the count is up to 9 now. 9 people have been killed. And one man, a 22-year-old man, was actually stoned and then burned to death. And then they stoned some other guy. Like it's not just, not just killing him quickly, but they're actually just, it's horrible. It's horrible. And so it's gotten to the point now where some of the doctors in the area are being threatened because some of the people were worried about the doctors that had stethoscopes on. And it's just it's panic. It's absolute panic right now. It's terrible. And people are really scared. I would be.
Been a long time since we've had a witch hunt. Like a big one like this.
A literal one, yeah. And I honestly don't know how they're going to get a handle on this. It's been going on for months now.
Yeah.
So, but little update and still crazy.
That's nuts. It's 2017. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I'm still telling you. I think there's some demons running loose in that place. I really do.
Something's going on.
Yeah.
Something's going on.
I think there's some demonic possession happening there.
That's a good point. It could be. All right. So here's the last story. And I saved this one for last because this one's one that I really like. And I think you're going to find it interesting too.
I found them all interesting tonight.
So this is a story that I found on BBC that is just kind of a mystery in England because everything in England's a mystery. They have weird things that go on over there. So supposedly someone tried to poison some trees at this historic home.
What did the trees do?
The trees didn't do anything. But there's this house. It's called the Kulunga House.
Right.
And they have some 200-year-old trees on the property. They're protected. The whole place is like a historical site. And someone went there and drilled holes into 8 of the trees and put some kind of unknown substance in there, essentially trying to poison the trees.
Wow.
And nobody has any idea who did it, why they did it, or the purpose. So the trees that have actually been damaged, they don't think are actually going to die. They feel like they've gotten that they're going to be able to survive through this poisoning. Obviously, they're very sturdy trees. They've been around for 200 years. And the police have actually closed the case because they have no leads. There's absolutely no idea.
What the hell?
Yeah, I don't know. So here's what I thought was really interesting about this story, because I read the story and I was not satisfied with the we don't have any idea why. And I wanted to find out, because this is an old home. It's a historic site. And so I looked into the history of the house a little bit. In the Kulunga house, it was actually built in 1826 for a naval officer named John Garnham. Okay. And it was originally called Hill House back then, which is funny that it was called Hill House, but someone in his family's last name was Hill, and so they just called it Hill House. So I looked around online and I found this book that actually talked about the history of that particular house. And they talked a little bit about John Garnham, who was in the war, the Napoleonic War, and he was actually a prisoner of war. And after the war was over, about a year after the war was over, he was released and sent back to England, where he was obviously like a war hero. And they made him a lieutenant, and he never went back out to sea, but everybody, all the locals called him Captain Garnham. So Captain Garnham lived in this house, but it turns out he died in 1872 of an unfortunate accident. Right. So one of his favorite pastimes was to watch the fishing drifters steam out to the ocean, like on the river. The ships go out to the ocean. And there was this tree on his property, this witch elm tree on the property, and it blocked his view. So he decided he was going to go out and trim one of the branches off of it, cut a couple branches off. So he went out there and he put his ladder up against the tree, and he got his saw out and he prepared to cut the limb of the tree off. And this huge gust of wind blew up from where the sea was and up the river and knocked him to the ground. The branch snapped off and hit him in the head and knocked him unconscious, and he never regained consciousness, and he died the next day, which was very strange because he was trying. And this is all stuff you dug up. This was in that book. Yes. So this is how he passed away, because when trying to cut this tree down, this ancient tree. So also in this book, which I thought was very interesting, on like the next page, it said that it was widely believed that Hill House, this particular house, had been built on a sacred grove, a place where spirits dwelled, specifically tree spirits. Oh my God. And it was a place of mystery and magic, and it was thought to be the site of the Druids' midsummer gathering where they would watch the sunrise out of the Eastern Sea. Oh my God. So I thought that all of that made this story that much more interesting. Oh yeah. Now, not to explain why someone would try to hurt the trees, and I'm not saying that that has anything to do with the tree poisoning, but the fact that the trees survived the poisoning and that they've been there that long, and the mysterious way that the original owner died. It does seem connected. It's just, it was all very strange. That's amazing. And the research that you did on that. Well, and it's funny. I don't normally go that in depth in my research, but for some reason when I read the story, I just felt like that wasn't the story. That wasn't the story. Yeah. So I found this in this book, and it was just, I thought that was so fascinating. Amazing. And thank you. That's cool. Yes. So that is all of my news. Well, kudos to you, and kudos to this wacky world. Okay, Earth, you can stop now, because things have been really nuts. We've had too much news, too much astounding news, and even the next time we'll find out whether or not we get the JFK stuff or not. So, exactly. All right. Well, that's, I don't even know what to say after all that. I know. It's just like a ton of stuff. This is Halloween. That's all I can say. It's amazing. That's really cool. I hope that everybody be sure to stay safe during Halloween and keep the kitty safe and get a lot of candy and have a lot of fun and listen to some creepy stuff. Watch some Hammer horror movies, a lot of Hammer horror movies. And,
for the most, just enjoy yourself. And this is such a great time of year. Go take a drive, go adventure, go find a haunted graveyard or a haunted road, because we're going to, and you'll see it next week on the vlog. ParanormalSideshow.com. That's your address to go find out everything haunted. Facebook.com/ParanormalSideshow. There's a whole lot of hauntings going on. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. That thing has stayed haunted. On Instagram, Hot Haunted Damn, it's John and Stacey Edwards. And you know, before I go into this YouTube thing, I will say, because I didn't say it at the first, if you're listening to this show and you love this show, please subscribe, and you will get it delivered to your doorstep just easily every week without having to hunt for it. Subscribe, like it, share it with people. It's available on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. Anywhere you listen, you know that we're watching you right now. And on youtube.com/Paranormal Sideshow. I won't do the whole thing this time, but I will say you will enjoy your time spent, and you get to see a lot of crazy stuff that Stacey loves finding that I say that I didn't know I said till I watched the vlog, and that's a shoot. But for my lovely wife, Stacey, my name's John. Happy Halloween.
Good night.